You found yourself a hunter.
Never before have I played a game or experienced a piece of art that captured the essence of fear as well as Bloodborne has. What's up everyone, I'm Phritzy, and this is Life's a Video Game. Full game spoilers ahead. What's the purpose of fear? To my understanding, it's a trigger designed for our survival. You're out in the wild doing some hunter-gathering sort of activity, and you come across a snake. Not completely sure what to do in that moment, but one thing is for sure, you wouldn't go up and try to kiss it. I think we can all agree without some sort of fear, our species would have died out a long time ago. But I think we're past that for the most part. Do you drive to work assuming a giant spider will jump in front of your car? I'm guessing no. So then, how does fear play a role in our lives today? One of the first game bosses you face is Father Gascon. You enter a graveyard scene as he's chopping something or someone up. He says quietly,
"Beasts all over the shop. You'll be one of them, sooner or later."
beasts. The music hits. You swing your weapon as frantically as you can, but he quickly slams you down. You shoot your gun and then slash. You're dead. He says,
"Too proud to show your true face, eh? But a sporting hunt it was."
"My true face." You make your way back. There's no hesitation as you swing, yet he counters you again. You hit the dodge button. Whew. We're still okay, but then, he's defeated you once more. You continue to face him as you're locked into a dance, trading blows. He extends his axe. You must be laser focused.
What's that smell? The sweet blood. Oh, it sings to me. It's enough to make a man sick.
You're 2/3 of the way there, and then, what is this? No. His transformation into a beast has ripped you apart. You continue to go back again, and again. You become fully aware of reality. Your heart is pounding as you know you're in the fight for your life. I continued to have these moments, and my wife would notice that I'm physically shaking. She would put her hand on me as a form of comfort, yet because I was so overwhelmed with fear, I would jump and freak out as I was so engaged with my own survival. At first, your fear is all about survival, but this is only scratching the surface. Bloodborne does not have a typical narrative, nor does it have a ton of exposition. You start the game knowing absolutely nothing. The opening scene is a cryptic conversation with what seems to be a rambling old man, talking nonsense about pale blood, being an outsider, signing a contract, telling you that this will all just seem like a nightmare. You're sent to the game creation screen with little to no help. It's all up to you, buddy. No one's gonna hold your hand. Shortly after you take control of your character, you notice a werewolf-like creature called a scourge beast that was hunting you in your dream before. You press a few buttons on your controller and you figure out how to swing your arms. And no, that does not help. The scourge beast makes quick work of you as you're thrusted into another dream-like sequence. The hunter's dream. Creepy little creatures offer you a few interesting items, a gun and a weapon that I'm sure is used to slice up some foes. Back you go into what is assumed the real world. Quickly, you'll notice that you can't just hit the attack button over and over. You're gonna have to be deliberate and strategic if you're going to survive. After you manage to defeat the wolf, you enter the city of Yharnam. The city is flooded with coffins. The townsfolk attack on sight, and they look like beasts themselves. As you make your way through Yharnam, you hit an area with a whole crowd of townspeople. You can see in the middle that they've tied up one of those scourge beasts, yet they too look to be partially beasts themselves. Another thing you might notice early on is that the townsfolk are calling you a foul beast.
Beast! Oh, foul beast! You fiend!
And that it's your fault. What the heck did you do? And how are you in any way a foul beast? You're the one doing the killing, are you not? Early on, you'll find a lantern that transports you back to the hunter's dream. Once you're there, there'll be an old man named Gehrman who has this kind voice and tells you not to think too hard about what's happening, but instead you should go out and kill a few beasts. As you are a hunter, you see.
Aha! You must be the new hunter. Welcome to the hunter's dream. This will be your home for now. I am Gehrman. friend to you hunters.
The Hunter's Dream will also serve as a hub world. Every time you die in this game, you'll be teleported back to a lantern, and chances are you're going to die a lot in this game. By the title Bloodborne, this game is not for the faint of heart. All of this is a lot to take in. I can't help but think of all the times I was told to just do this or that, with little to no explanation. Just, that'll be good for me. Don't think too hard. And I wonder why. Why can't I know what's going on? I'm being sheltered in some sick way. It's as if I have no agency over my life. All these nightmares and dreamlike moments are telling me that I'm just sleeping through life, that I shouldn't open my eyes or pay attention. But don't you worry. Just close your eyes and sleep, and everything will be alright. Another one of the first game bosses you'll fight is called the Cleric Beast. Judging from its name, it was some form of religious figure. Oh boy, is this a first boss or what? Talk about a great way to say to the gamer, can you handle this? Are you up to the task? He's very much one of the easiest bosses in the game, so if you can't handle your fear and tighten up your skills, then you have no business moving forward. It's the same in life. You go after your dreams, but chances are you're going to fail a lot before you succeed. If you let the continual fear of failure paralyze you and you don't bother to improve your skill set, then you have absolutely no business going after what you truly desire. However, if you can manage to conquer him, the screen will flash "Prey Slaughtered" on your screen and really giving you that feeling that you are indeed a hunter. It makes you feel incredibly capable, like a proper job well done. You'll also be able to knock on people's doors or windows, and they'll mostly come across crazy-like. They'll be laughing and telling you about the little details of this night of the hunt.
I don't reckon you're from round here. Well,
One window you come across is this little girl who seems uniquely quite sane.
Mum, Daddy never came back from the hunt, and she went to find him, but now she's gone too.
She tells you that her mom is missing and she's really worried about her, as her mom is looking for her dad. You can offer to help her, and if you do, she'll explain that her mom has a red jeweled brooch, and she'll also give you a music box. It plays one of her dad's favorite songs. It helps him remember. If you take a look at the description of the music box, it'll say Viola and Gascon. Huh, that sounds familiar. Back to your fight with Father Gascon. What happens if you play the music box during the fight? He stops in agony. Now is your moment to strike. Finish him off. Prey Slaughtered. Again, job well done. Though the game doesn't tell you explicitly that Father Gascon is the little girl's dad, you can put two and two together, as he is so deeply affected by that music box. As you search the area, you'll come across a corpse of a woman, and an item can be picked up that looks like a red jeweled brooch. Gascon must have lost himself, instead turning into a beast. When I contemplate the reasons behind his transformation, and I think about the town folks and their appearances, and how they yell at me saying it's my fault, and most importantly why Father Gascon tells me I'll become one myself, sooner or later, I start to wonder if perhaps I am a beast. Yet, how do I become one? Has one been living in me all along? My guess is yes. Have you ever been put into a situation where you lose control of yourself? You say things that you regret and you let it consume you. You end up destroying your relationships. I figure this is what the game is saying to us. That we have a monster inside of us, and if we let it lose control, then we're left with nothing but pain and suffering. If you let your fears control you, you become that which you fear the most. As you press on, you enter Cathedral Ward. What is with all this religious stuff? Cleric Beast, Father Gascon, and now this. You look around and you can see this blind man.
Oh, you must be a hunter. Very sorry. The incense must have masked your sin.
He asks you to help him out by sending the other townspeople here, as supposedly this place here is a safe haven. You can talk to another lady who offers you the same thing at the starting area of the game, where you first wake up.
Oh, well, hello. Splendid. Let me ask you a small kindness.
It's now up to you to choose.
You found me a nice, safe place.
Do you pick the creepy old man, or do you listen to the sweet-sounding lady?
Isn't there something I can do? Maybe Mum and Dad are stuck out there, waiting for me to come and find them. What do you think, Mr. Hunter?
Continuing past the Cathedral Ward, you'll come across these not-so-friendly dudes who are called church servants. Apparently this is not a very inclusive religion that we're dealing with. The further you dig yourself into this haunted place, the more you start to understand. You find out that this is all part of some healing church. To be honest, I feel as if they're doing a pretty weak job at this. By now you would have probably gone back to the Hunter's Dream a few times. Gehrman tells you that you can use the doll, which is creepy in so many ways. It's kind of strange, as the doll at the beginning just sat there very much lifeless, yet now she's talking to you in a rather kind and gentle voice.
Hello, good hunter. I am a doll, here in this dream to look after you.
Another thing you might have not noticed at first is this icon at the top right corner. It represents your insight, but insight to what? If you were paying attention to that insight icon as you enter a boss fight, you'll notice it going up. You might have even picked up this item, Madman's Knowledge. The item description says, Skull of a madman touched by the wisdom of a great one, used to gain insight. Okay. Making contact with the Eldritch Truth is a blessing. Even if it drives one mad, it allows one to serve a grander purpose for posterity. What in the actual hell is this? And what is a great one? Because you have gained this so-called insight, the doll now starts to speak with you, and she's even your method of leveling up your in-game stats. Mostly, I'm just confused. What is a great one? Why am I getting insight? And what is its purpose? And why is the doll speaking to me and helping me in this dreamlike world, alongside an old man? Next, you head into what is called Old Yarnum. As you open the door, you get this fine note. Ignoring it, and you'll be yelled at by another jabbering old man telling you to turn back.
You there! Hunter! Didn't you see the warning? Turn back at once. Old Yarnum, burned and abandoned by men, is now home only to beasts. They are of no harm to those above. Turn back, or the hunter will face the hunt.
Of course you don't listen. This is a video game after all, so don't tell me what to do. The enemies here are far more beastly, and Buddy up there starts babbling again.
You are a skilled hunter, adept, merciless, half cut with blood, as the best hunters are.
Half cut with blood.
Which is why I must stop you.
Which is why he must stop me? Wait, why? You're doing this man a favor, yet it seems he doesn't want you to fight the beasts. We'll just leave him be for now. Continuing, you see this creepy scene. No. And then the boss. Blood-starved beast. I know this video is about dealing with your fears and whatnot, but I wouldn't blame you if you ran in the opposite direction for this one. Just nope. Perhaps some things are better left in the dark. Blindly stumbling forward into this nightmare, you might by chance come across the abandoned old workshop. This place is particularly interesting as it seems to be the same place you visit within the Hunter's Dream, including items for a doll. I started thinking to myself that maybe the Hunter's Dream is some sort of purgatory for the old man Gehrman. Are we in some sort of purgatory as well? Around a third into the game and absolutely nothing seems to be making sense. Just like a bad dream. Wandering around the cathedral, you come across another enemy who will most likely kill you. Except this time you're not being thrown back to a lantern. What in the actual... You get yourself kidnapped. You're in a place called the Yargle Unseen Village. Unseen as in hidden? What is your purpose for hiding? For essentially the whole game aside from boss fights, there is no background music. The idea is you're supposed to be swept up into the world itself with just the environmental noise. It's also what gives such a huge punch in the boss fights. The music brings the game up to 1,000. So what does it mean when there is music when the rule has been set that there should be none? If you can manage to get past these not so friendly chaps, you'll climb up here and you'll see this. Is this that great one that was mentioned before? Looks as if it's being worshipped as a god. Judging by the messed up music, this is actually a choir? Yikes. And this whole ominous feeling to the area, methinks this god isn't super fond of giving lovely little blessings. Back in that church area, you head into what you would assume is the main chapel. And there's more of these super hideous godlike idol monster statues. Up we go, and a lady is praying with lines like, "Our thirst for blood sedates us, soothes our fears." That might hurt somewhat. Ouch. Vicar Amelia. Well, Amelia, I would say you have made some very poor choices in life, and I'm going to have to put you down. Down. Sit. I said sit down. Horrible, disobedient mutt. I'm sorry, I don't truly know if she's a mutt or not. Not sure what kind of form or breed she is. So you slaughter this prey as you do, and you decide to touch the beast skull on the altar. Oh, a cutscene.
Master Willem, I've come to bid you farewell.
A young fellow named Lawrence is ditching his old mentor to become his own man in this beautiful world.
Oh, I know. You think now to betray me.
No, but you will never listen. I tell you, I will not forget our adage.
Also, fear the old blood.
We are born of the blood, made men by the blood, undone by the blood. Our eyes are yet to open.
Fear the old blood.
Fear the old blood. Is this the old blood that they're referring to? Why was this lady praying and attempting to become a beast? I start to think that at some point you become far more aware of the nastiness inside you. You wander this world afraid of simple things even, like, why does a loved one choose a path that is not your own? You don't understand their perspective, so you lash out. You allow this to manifest itself and you become like Amelia. Lines like, "Our thirst for blood sedates us, soothes our fear." You're essentially deciding to cause harm to others rather than to understand. You don't know what you don't understand. It, frightens you. It scares you, so you'd rather become a monster and worshipping things you should not.
By the gods, fear it, Lawrence.
You head down here and you're asked for a password. And of course it's fear the old blood.
The password.
The game gets pretty weird after this point. Yeah, more than it is already. The place is filled with snakes and such. Talk about feeding off your primal fear, you know? Your regular old townsfolk do this now. There's also this funky little path that'll take you up this crazy long ladder. Up, and neato. The game just looped back on itself. We're back to where we started. We take this route and oh, what are these things? Why, isn't this the exact place you woke up from the start of the game? This is where that one sweet sounding lady offered to save people. Didn't she? I think she did. If you chose to listen to the creepy sounding man back in Cathedral Ward, he would have taken care of these people, and they would have been safe. But if you chose this lady, oh no.
Very good. She's safe with me now. I presume you're to thank? The treatment is going well, stabilized for the most part. Fascinating, really.
Talk about regrets. I think oftentimes it's easy to judge someone based solely off superficial appearances. Because he sounded freaky, it must have meant he was evil, right?
They'll be safe here. The incense wards off the beasts. Spread the word. Tell them to come on over. If you wouldn't mind.
Fear took over your judgment, and now innocent bystanders must pay the price.
Be a dear. Find me some more.
Continuing through these forbidden woods, you will finally end up in Bergenworth. Earlier on, you were told that this is a place of learning, and getting an education is, I'm told, the best thing you can do for your life. So you head in. I have no idea how to explain what these are, or that in particular. Some dark cosmic demon of the abyss, I'm thinking. Maybe I don't want to learn anymore. As you head up through Bergenworth, you'll see this fellow. If you were paying attention earlier, you'll realize that he's this gentleman.
Our eyes are yet to open.
He's the leader of this so-called school of learning, but what they're attempting to learn from has quite the set of forbidden knowledge. Though curiosity is powerful, some things are better left alone.
Fear the old blood.
Speaking of leaving things alone, you enter a boss fight with Rom the Vacuous Spider. Hold up, what does vacuous even mean? Having or showing a lack of thought or intelligence. Mindless. This spider is feeding off your deepest, most primal fears, and you gotta fight to defeat him. What now? After you've left the area, you notice that the night has changed. You go back to the cathedral ward and you see that things are not quite right. What is that? Oh, it's that idol that was being worshipped beforehand with that nasty choir. Have they been here all along? If beforehand you were attempting to gain insight, you would have noticed that elements of this world were off. The church servants had this almost magical power to them. If you ended up gaining 40 or more insight, you for sure would have seen these hellish creatures hanging all along. The world in its state before was all a complete facade, the spider representing some of our most deepest and most primal fears. Yet it was all empty, void of substance, and now the veil of truth has been ripped from our eyes. I believe there's this idea as you let fear overcome you and fall into the nonsense of society as a whole, you end up letting the fear of the collective conscious take over you. You become blind to the horrors of reality, unwilling to muster up the courage to take on the difficult path that is life. You instead choose to bury your head into the sand, where all is quiet. Vacuous indeed. The swift change that happens within the game and the shock of what you see is equivalent to Neo taking the red pill in the Matrix, seeing the world for what it is. There's a chance you might come across a character who says,
"Not even death offers solace, and the blood imbibes you. Seek you the ancient shrouded church, hidden to the right of the main cathedral. The gift of the Godhead will grant you strength."
He also gives you this item. It looks strangely like the head of that awful looking creature. You follow his direction and you're led into another building with another Cthulhu head staring at you. If you're crazy enough to allow it to grab you, you'll hear another piece of dialogue from the same guy.
"Oh, Amygdala, oh, Amygdala, have mercy on the poor bastard."
What a troll. Amygdala. What even is an amygdala? Oh, the amygdala. It's a section of the brain that is responsible for detecting fear and preparing for emergency events. Okay, that makes sense. I mean, that's why we all know not to go hug and kiss a spider. It's a safety mechanism, but the people in this game are in fact worshipping it, elevating it to a godlike status. What happens when you allow fear to become your false god? From what we've seen so far, nothing positive, that's for sure. You continue forward and you end up coming back to Yargul Unseen Village. The choir has stopped and the place is now covered with amygdala. The worship of fear has caused these vile creatures to manifest themselves throughout the world, becoming the central focus for this culture. The area boss is a physical representation of all the unspeakable acts the people of this society committed. There are times in life when you are surrounded by evil created from fear. Often it's hidden, but sooner or later it will raise its ugly head. Do you choose to hide yourself just as the vacuous spider did to its citizens? Or do you choose to face your fears, no matter how ugly it looks? If you take this path, you'll be looped back around into Old Yarnum. The old man that was yelling at you before is unable to see you as you were coming around from the other side. If you go to him without fighting him beforehand, he won't attack you. He'll assume that you've not harmed those creatures. He'll tell you,
"In case you fail to realize, the things you hunt, they're not beasts. They're people. One day you will see."
perhaps there are moments when we choose not to understand others. We instead interpret them as beasts, evil creatures we slay. Just a quick look into the game's DLC, you'll find yourself in a distorted version of Yarnum.
This is the hunter's nightmare, where hunters end up when drunk with blood. You've seen them before. Aimless, wandering hunters slavering like beasts. This is what the poor fools have to look forward to. So, don't be brash. Turn back before it's too late. Unless you've something of an interest in nightmares.
A place where hunters end up drunk with blood, a purgatory for the damned. During the main game, you probably picked up Ludwig's Holy Blade, a trick weapon typically used by the Healing Church hunters. It is said that the silver sword was employed by Ludwig, the first hunter of the church. You hear this name a few times, but you don't get the chance to meet him. That is, until you fight the first boss in the DLC.
Please. Help us.
Ludwig, the supposed first hunter of the church, not only becomes a beast, but a complete abomination.
The great terror.
It's as if this form is a representation of his darkened soul. A mirror image of the unimaginable acts he committed during his life.
Have mercy. Have mercy upon us.
His filth exposed to the light. Halfway through the battle, we'll see this.
You were at my side all along.
Ludwig regains an element of his sanity as he sees his guiding force that started him upon this path.
My true mentor. My guiding moonlight.
An arcane sword discovered long ago by Ludwig. When blue moonlight dances around the sword, it channels the abyssal cosmos. Its great blade will hurl a shadowy light wave. The moonlight sword is synonymous with Ludwig, the Holy Blade, but few have ever set eyes on the great blade. And whatever guidance it has to offer, it seems to be of a very private, elusive sort. Some things are better left unknown. Sometimes the search for knowledge is forbidden for a clear and specific reason. There are times when ignorance truly is bliss. You will also come across the boss Lawrence. You've seen him before, his skull. He took what was forbidden and by doing so placed a curse on his people for generations to come. Back to the main game, you will enter this room. Awful. You are then teleported to the Nightmare of Mensis. A quick Wikipedia search tells us that Mensis refers to the moon. For the purposes of this game, I'm assuming it's a form of moon worship. As you fight your way through the nightmare, you'll end up facing this individual.
Hear our prayers.
Mikolash, host of the nightmare. He's the one who is most likely responsible for this entire mess, or at least is a big player in the whole event.
No one can catch us. No one can stop us now.
Bowing down to the nightmare, he searches for his hidden knowledge at the expense of all others. Once you defeat him, he cries,
Now I'm waking up. I'll forget everything.
none of what he's after is real, yet he still pursued it for his own selfish ambitions. There are moments in life when you can be so clouded with the pursuit of your own selfishness that you can forget your own humanity and end up trampling over others, creating a hellish nightmare that all must bear. Chances are you've noticed a baby's cry echoing in the distance. Towards the end of the nightmare, you'll see this lady. You've seen her before. Something horrific has happened, and she's pointing you in that direction. Murgo's wet nurse, a sick and twisted creature with wings and has multiple claw-like arms. A fallen angel, to be sure. The music is what you would expect to hear in a typical nursery. A monster is protecting a so-called baby. After defeating it, instead of a message, "Prey slaughtered," you get "Nightmare slain." You'll also receive this item, and the description says, every great one loses its child and then yearns for a surrogate. My interpretation is that the great ones are a full manifestation of a nightmare, the greatest form of fear. Fear is then worshipped and then elevated to godhood. Yet, it is this false god who only wants to bring further destruction. The description of having a child makes me think that people become intimate with their fear, allowing it to fully possess them. And fear begets fear. Yet, fear on its own cannot create more fear by itself. It needs a surrogate, a living human being. By allowing fear to become your false god, you impose it upon the people around you and further onto your own society, thus creating a fear culture. A culture who doesn't care about the well-being of others, with no love for its own people and absolute hate for outsiders. If you remember, at the start of the game, this old man talks of pale blood, you being an outsider, and a contract. The pale blood being a representation of your own fears. As you become frightened, you go pale white as a ghost, and by seeking out the pale blood, you are quite literally seeking out your own fears. You, as an outsider, have no knowledge of the current group or situation. You pose a possible threat to the foundation of the society itself. A sickness is adrift, yet they blame you, an outsider, for what is indeed their own faults. But why did you sign a contract? What does that mean? After you kill Murgo's wet nurse, you're left with nowhere else to go. So naturally you head back into the hunter's dream. Gehrman's workshop is now ablaze. You talk to the doll and she says,
"Good hunter, you have come. Dawn will soon break. This night and this dream will end. Gehrman awaits you at the foot of the great tree."
It's as if you've almost managed to break the spell of the nightmare. You talk to Gehrman and he gives you a choice.
Good hunter, you've done well. The night is near its end. Now, I will show you mercy. You will die, forget the dream, and awake under the morning sun. You will be freed from this terrible hunter's dream.
To be freed from the dream, you must submit your life.
Farewell, my keen hunter. Fear the blood.
If you choose this, he kills you and you wake up into what is assumed the waking world. But to me, this is like taking the blue pill from the Matrix. You are simply plunging your head into the sand. And though the horror still surrounds you, you live in willful ignorance of its presence.
Farewell, good hunter. May you find your worth in the waking world.
Or you can choose to refuse. Instead, you fight the one who has been your guide.
Dear, oh dear. What was it? The hunt? The blood? Or the horrible dream? Oh, it doesn't matter. It always comes down to the hunter's helper to clean up after these sorts of messes. Tonight, Gehrman joins the hunt.
The music is a melancholy affair, if you listen to his dialogue throughout the game.
Oh, Lawrence, what's taking you so long? I've grown too old for this. Of little use now, I'm afraid.
It's as if Gehrman is dealing with his regrets of his life. He chose to walk down a hellish path, and there is no escape for him.
Ludwig.
Not ever. Not for the crimes he has committed against his own kind. Him being the first hunter, he was the first to initiate the hate and slaughter upon others.
Oh, Lawrence, Master Willem. Somebody, help me. Unshackle me, please. Anybody. I've had enough of this dream. The night blocks all sight. Oh, somebody, please.
All because he was driven by fear. If you manage to defeat him, you will be presented with this final scene. Another abomination comes down from the moon and engulfs you. You then take Gehrman's place, as the doll says.
And so, the hunt begins again.
From my understanding, fear is a trap. because you allowed yourself to be blood drunk.
I've got with blood, as the best hunters are, which is why I must stop you. I should think you still have dreams. Well, the next time you dream, give some thought to the hunt.
Just as the hunter from Old Yarnum tells us, which is why he must stop me, allowing fear to push you to do unspeakable acts in the name of survival. You create a circle of fear, one that is never ending. You actually have another option. If you collect the umbilical cords and use them, you'll be able to resist and face this demonic foe, the moon presence. You fight off this puppet master and fight for your freedom. But wait, what is this?
Are you cold? Oh, good hunter.
The doll calls the slug good hunter. That's you. Just like a proper horror story, there is no happy fairy tale ending. I see this final ending as fear finally able to have offspring. You allowed yourself to be trapped in this world of blood, and you became what you once hated and feared yourself. You are the beast, the vile creature of the abyss. There is a play written by Jean-Paul Sartre titled No Exit. It's about 3 individuals who did unspeakable acts in their life and are now in hell with no exit, paying the price. As the story unfolds, the characters assume that they'll be attacked by demons and monsters, but by the end, the characters come to the tragic realization that hell is just other people. We are the monsters all along. I see the doll in the hunter's dream as a representation of heroin or other opioids and depressants. One does not choose to dampen their reality without a heavy reason. The music and the doll are both so soothing. It only makes sense that you reawaken as a mindless slug, buried deep from the pain of your own existence and crimes. I also believe you end up with this ending because there are some atrocities committed where there is no turning back. Though you might one day find solace later in life, the ones affected by your crimes carry on. Think about all the horrors of the 20th century. Think about all those who initiated it. Think about all those who followed it. And then think about all those who were affected by it. All stemming from fear. Not for the fear of survival from a tiger out in the wild, but from fear of the unknown and fear of the outsider. Finally, I think back to that contract the old man from the beginning of the game went on about. I look at it as making a contract with the devil. You never see this man again, but he's the one who sets you along this path. Within the context of this game, you are trying to save yourself, possibly from a sickness, maybe from the fear of death, but broadly speaking, allowing the fear of anything to take hold in your life, whether it's the fear of failure, possibly stopping you from seeking your goal in an ethical way. Instead, you blame others, or worse, you take them down. Or maybe it's the fear of standing out, not going with the flow of society and choosing your own path. Instead, you flow through the stream of hate, and you rip down the walls of what once used to protect you. To me, this game serves as a warning about the consequences of allowing fear to become your god. Hey everyone, wow, that was heavy, but thank you for making it to the end. This is only my interpretation of Bloodborne, and I'm sure there are many others. Believe it or not, I still skipped over huge chunks of the game, and I wanted to present how I felt about the game the first time I played through it, as I always relate games to my own life. I hope you have a great day, and a restful night. Friends, this was Life's a Video Game. Peace.